Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy, with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Hey, John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. I'm trying it again. I did a live stream. I've tried to do 2 live streams today, and the first one this afternoon, which was an absolute masterpiece, never went live, and it did not record either, which was really discouraging. So I tried it again about 30 minutes ago, and my audio went off again. I don't know what the problem is, but we're trying it another time. It's Saturday night, 9:25, and I want to do a tax proration problem with you, okay? So let's go over to the whiteboard and just get right into it. I'm going to try to keep my monitoring the audio, and hopefully everything will work fine. And so anyway, you know what? You just don't get discouraged and you don't give up. You just keep trying. But I had one of my students call me today, Joseph, and Joseph said, John, why is it in the tax proration problems, when we have a closing in April, you only count out 3 months? Shouldn't there be 4? And then you had a closing in August and you only counted out 7 months. Shouldn't there be 8? And I said, Joseph, that is a great question. And it really is a great question. And I want to explain that to you tonight, because my mother always taught me to begin counting when we're doing tax prorations during the month of February. So you start with February, not January. And I'll explain that here for you. So let's just quickly take a look at a couple of things you need to know for the exam. Is that when you have a closing, and I've been using today for my last 2 problems, an August 9th closing date. So the question really comes up, how do we show this on the closing statement? On the exam, you're going to have to debit someone and you're going to have to credit someone. And when I say someone, I'm talking about the buyer and the seller. So who is debited and who's credited for taxes when you close on August the 9th? Well, what you need to know for the real estate exam and in general is that taxes are paid in arrears. Okay, so I'm going to write arrears here. And so what that means is when you pay your tax bill on 12/31, you're actually paying for the previous year. So I'm recording this video on January the 6th, 2024. And I paid my taxes on 12/31, I was actually paying for 2023. So that kind of starts to tell us something here, that it's probably the seller who's going to owe from 1/1 to 8/9. Why? Because they lived in the home the first 7 months and 9 days. I'm going to get to that, Joe, on why you were asking me that. That's 7 months and 9 days. And since they owe that and taxes are paid in arrears, the seller is probably going to be charged or debited for those 7 months and 9 days. So what do we need to do in this problem for the real estate exam? Well, the first thing we need to do is look at, well, how much are the taxes? I'm going to say they're $3,500.89. That is the total taxes for the year. Now, quick reminder here, a very quick reminder for you, is that on the real estate exam, they may give you semi-annual tax, okay? In that case, you're going to have to multiply it by 2. Or they could give you the quarterly tax, in which case you'd have to multiply it by 4. You've got to really read those questions carefully because they love to throw those curveballs at you and try to trip you up. In this case, we're just going to make it plain and simple. Taxes are $3,589. So step 1, if you want to write this down, is take 3,589 and divide it by 12. Make that, because we want to find out what is the monthly tax, right? That's what we're trying to solve for. Now, I always tell you to double check your math, and I'm going to encourage you to do that. Tonight, because I'm doing my 3rd video here, I'm going to bypass double checking. 291.74, and I double checked earlier and that was the same number I got, okay? But for the exam, always double check your math. So many times you can just make a math calculation error and miss a problem, and we don't want to do that on test day. If you missed by one problem and it was a math error, you'd really be upset with yourself. So double check your math. So this is our monthly tax. Now we're going to take 291.74, and this is step 2, and we're going to divide it by 30 to get our daily. And when we do that, I get $9.72. Now again, I want you to double check your math. That's the same number I got earlier. So I'm going to multiply that times 9 days, because remember, we're closing on August the 9th, 8-9. And so when I take that times 9, I get 87.52. Now, let's go over here to where my mother said to start with the month of February. So I'm writing this down. I should check and make sure that my audio is working, and it shows it is working. So if it goes off again, I'm going to be very disappointed. Okay. All right, so here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although I'm gonna fix this because that's not. My mother always told me to do it this other way. I was gonna count out all 12 months, but January's already. I want to start with February. Why am I starting with February? Because taxes are paid in arrears. So if you live in the property January, on February 1, that would be the first month, right? So, Joe, that's why there's only 3 in April. You were asking me that. And that's why we have 7 months, okay? Always start with February and end in the day or the month of your closing. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Now, my mom always said too, and she did a great job teaching closing statements when I did a live classes years ago. But she always said, they tell us in school not to count on our fingers, but I'm going to tell you to count on your fingers. So always start with February, March, April, May, June, July, August. We're closing August the 9th. So stop in the month you're closing. 7 months, okay? So when we go back over here, and so this was 291.74. So I'm going to come over here and take 291.74 times 7. And I'm going to take 972 times 9. Why? We're closing on August 9th. Remember, 7 months and 9 days. All right? So the 291.74 times 7 equals 2,042.18. I will double check that. 291.74 times 7 equals 2,042.18. And then 9.72 times 9 equals 87.48. I will double check that. $87.48, and I think it was 972, wasn't it? Yep, right there. And so we're going to add these together. And that is 2,129.66. I hope that's right. 2,129.66. This will be a debit to the seller and a credit for the same amount to the buyer on the closing statement. Now, again, this is based on closing on August the 9th. So what happens on 12/31? Who pays the tax bill? The buyer does. And the buyer will pay the $3,500.89. And you might be saying, well, John, why does the buyer have to pay the entire tax bill? Because we just gave them a credit right there for 2,129.66, which was from 1/1 to 8/9, the closing. And so had the buyer not received the credit of 2,129.66, they would have had to come up with more money on the day of closing, okay? So I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Would love to have you subscribe, and would also love for you to tell others about Global Real Estate School. Well, hey, I had to try it 3 times today. The first time, it was a brilliant episode. I mean, I was hitting all cylinders, and I thought I did a great job on tax proration, and it never went out live. The second one I did, I had to delete off all the channels because my audio went out again. And I think my audio is working now. I hope so. But thank you so much for joining. I'm going to jump back over to the desk real quick and just come back over here and sit down and remind you that at Global Real Estate School, we have lots of resources that can help you with the exam. We have digital flashcards. We have an exam prep. Anything you need, coaching, whatever, I'm your guy, Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield. It's Saturday night, 9:41. I usually go to bed pretty early. I like to get up early and I go to bed early. But I wanted to do a live streaming on tax proration because I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in 2024. We're trying to grow the school, or I'm trying to grow the school, and I'd love to have you as a student. I'd love for you to tell others about the school. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good evening. Keep studying if you're a Global Real Estate School student, and otherwise, I'll probably see you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.